All right, today we're diving into a principle that honestly kind of runs the world behind the scenes. It affects everything from a giant company's bottom line to, yeah, even the clothes you decide to wear. It's this simple but powerful idea that the universe is just profoundly and predictably unbalanced.
So let me just ask you this straight up. Think about the last big thing you accomplished. What if I told you that most of what you'd call real progress actually came from just a tiny, tiny fraction of the effort you put in? I know, it sounds kind of crazy, right?
Well, it turns out it's not crazy at all. It's a very real thing called the Pareto principle, though you probably know it as the 80-20 rule. And the core idea couldn't be simpler. For almost anything you can measure, a small handful of causes, the 20%, is responsible for the lion's share of the results, the 80%.
So, where on earth did this wild idea come from? Well, the story is fantastic because it doesn't start in some stuffy university or a high-tech lab. Nope, it all started in a simple garden. We've got to go back to Italy in the late 1800s.
So this guy, an economist named Vilfredo Pareto, is just hanging out in his garden, and he starts noticing something weird. A small number of his pea pods, maybe just 20% of them, were bursting with peas. They were producing like 80% of his entire crop. Now, being an economist, his mind starts racing. He wonders, does this apply to other things? So he looks at land ownership in his country, Italy, and boom, same exact pattern. 80% of the land was owned by just 20% of the people. From peas to property, the rule held up. He knew he was onto something huge.
And that one little observation in his garden leads us right to the heart of this whole thing. It's all about learning to separate what we do from what we actually get. It's about finding what some people call the vital few.
And this, right here, this is what it looks like in action. See that little bar on the left? That's your 20%. Those are your best ideas, your most important tasks, your most valuable clients. And that tiny input creates that giant bar on the right. All the success, the money, the breakthroughs. It's proof that not all effort is created equal, not even close. Understanding this imbalance is everything.
So, this basically splits everything we do into two buckets. On one side, you have the vital few. These are the things that have a massive impact. They're the real game changers. And on the other side, you have the trivial many. This is, most of the stuff we do that feels busy, but if we're being honest, doesn't really move the needle. The real trick is learning to spot the difference.
Okay, so this isn't just some dusty old theory from a 19th century garden. Once you start looking for the 80-20 rule, you see this pattern absolutely everywhere. It's kind of spooky. Let's take a look at a few examples out there in the wild.
In the business world, this is gospel. Any smart CEO knows that a small group of their best customers probably accounts for the vast majority of their profits. They also know that a few superstar salespeople are likely bringing in most of the deals. It even works on the negative side. A small percentage of customers usually generate most of the headaches and complaints. The digital world is no different. Microsoft actually figured out that if they just fixed the top 20% of the most commonly reported bugs in their software, they could eliminate 80% of all the crashes. And hey, if you've ever run a website, you know this is true. A few of your pages get almost all the traffic, while the rest just sit there. And it gets personal too. This is happening in your own life, right now. I mean, come on, be honest. Think about your closet. You probably wear the same favorite 20% of your clothes 80% of the time, right? Same thing with your phone. You've got all those apps, but you probably use the same 5 or 6 every single day. This one number, 80%, it just says it all. For any business, finding that core 20%, whether it's products, clients, or employees, that generates 80% of the value, that's not just a good idea. That's often the secret to not just growing, but surviving. Okay, so we get it, right? The principle makes sense, but just knowing about it isn't enough. The real magic happens when you actually start using it. So how do we hunt down our own vital few?
But first, a really important point. This is not, I repeat, not an excuse to be lazy or to just do less work. That's a total misunderstanding. The point of the 80-20 rule is to do more of the right work. It's the ultimate strategy for working smarter, not just harder.
So how do you actually do it? Well, here's a super simple framework. First, just pick one area you want to get better at. Your job, your health, anything. Second, make a list. Just dump every single thing you do that contributes to that area. Now, here's the key step. Analyze that list. Which of these things are the heavy hitters? Find that 20% of activities that are giving you 80% of the good stuff. And once you find them, your mission is clear. Do more of that and systematically do less of everything else. I absolutely love this quote from Bruce Lee because it just nails the whole spirit of the 80-20 rule. Getting better, becoming a master at something, it isn't about constantly adding more things. It's about having the guts and the discipline to strip away everything that's not essential so you can pour all your focus into what truly, truly matters. So as we finish up here, I want to leave you with that question. In your work, in your life, in your own happiness, what's your 20%? What's the small handful of things that are really going to give you the vast majority of what you want? Because finding the answer to that, well, that could change everything.